In this episode of the Houndsman XP podcast, your patience has been paid off. Chris Powell returns to the mic. A lot of fans have been asking me, where's Chris? Where's Chris? Well, him and Lauren sat down to catch up with each other about Lauren's season, and Chris talks about what he's been up to and what he's been doing with his hounds and his own life, and we're glad to have you back, buddy. Chris and Lauren talk about all kinds of casual, fun stuff. They talk about what's going on in the bear woods, how to treat hounds that have unfortunate encounters with hounds, and how to proceed, plus breeding hounds, and even crazy other habits of mammals that they're going to get into, and I'm not going to give any spoilers. Well, I'm sad I didn't get a be in on this one, but you know what? I do enough talking as it is, so I'm just going to let these guys roll with it. Here's Chris and Lauren catching up and talking about all things hound hunting. Enjoy, guys.
Welcome to the Houndsman XP podcast and a voice like a blast from the past. I haven't been here for a while, Lauren. How are you?
Hey, Chris. I think you almost forgot the name of the podcast there. You froze up for a second.
Yeah, whatever. So yeah. I'm following your footsteps, and I'm not sure how many days I've been in my camper now, but it's been several. And I'm in Kalispell, Montana, and came up here for work. And I've just been living in my 2001 Jayco Eagle.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. You're kind of living the Lauren life, but not as fun because you're not really getting to hunt. It's all work.
You know what? I've been up here.
Yeah,
I've been up here for 6 weeks, and we have hunted 2 days. The rest of the time has been work. It's been pretty bad.
It sounds awful. But at least your camper's like a little bit bigger and a little bit nicer than mine.
Yeah, I found this camper on I found it on Marketplace because I knew I was going to need something to stay in while I was out here working, and found this camper on Marketplace over in Great Falls, Montana. Drove over there, took a look at it. It was owned by an older couple. It's got all the oak upgraded cabinets in it, stuff and stuff like that. It's immaculate, and so I just snagged it. It's pretty nice.
Nice. What are you going to do with it when you're done out there?
You know, I'm really tempted to pull it back home because it's just it is that nice. I'm really tempted to do that. So, not sure yet. Haven't crossed that bridge.
Do you have a camper back at home at all?
No camper at home.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks to pull that far, but
this thing
I think it's worth it to have one.
Yeah, it came fully equipped. I mean, really, dishes, silverware. There's cleaner in this camper. There's enough paper towel to last me till like through the next COVID toilet paper crisis, and all kinds of stuff. I mean, this thing really is set up, and it's got a full-size queen-size bed in it, and shower, bathroom, all self-contained, 4-season, and came with a Yamaha generator and the hitch.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it came with a hitch and sway bar package, the whole 9 yards. So it was quite the find. I was pretty proud of myself. Usually I get skinned on deals, but I felt like this one was worth it.
Nice. Good to hear. And 2 days of hunting, that does suck. Hopefully you'll get into it a little bit more. But what's the news out there out west? What are we hearing about?
Oh, you mean I'll tell you what's cool about being out west is, I'm 1,600 miles from home or whatever. And Scott Smith, longtime Houndsman XP fan and supporter of the podcast, came down and we hung out and talked dogs for a little bit. He's got Houndsman XP stickers on his truck. I think I posted a picture of that on social media. And I'm out here with my buddy Larry Anderson. He's been on the podcast before. Larry lives down in Gibbon.
And I got to meet him.
Yeah, you did. How was that?
Yeah, he played hooky from working with you.
No kidding, and, for a week.
Came out to Wisconsin.
Yeah, he leaves me in leaves me in Kalispell. Yeah. Leaves me up here by myself in Kalispell and takes off back east to bear hunt. And I'm like, well, I want to bear hunt. Why am I staying here working?
I know. I asked him how his buddy Chris felt about that.
What'd he say?
But I only got to see him for. I think he said he wasn't too happy about it. Something to that nature. And I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
A hunt. I get it. Like,
yeah.
I get it because I'm the same way.
Yeah.
It's ruining my life right now, but
right.
whatever. But I only got to see him for a couple hours.
Yeah, because you kind of ran into it. Yeah. So. We're going to talk about Piper getting chewed up by a bear and stuff in this podcast, but so getting back to the west type stuff. So Scott Smith comes down here, and then I'm meeting houndsmen from this whole region. Sat down and before I get to the houndsman part, I sat down with Jim Williams, who is the author of Path of the Puma. He's also the Region 1 director here. He wrote a whole book about mountain lions and his work for the last 27 years from Montana all the way down to Patagonia National Park in Chile, South America. And we talked for a little bit about that and recorded a podcast, which will be coming out soon, I hope. And Jim's a super cool guy. If you're out there and you're looking for a great book to read, you need to pick up Jim Williams' book, Path of the Puma. It's probably one of the most intriguing books that I've read. It talks a lot about biology. It talks a lot about predators and things in the Northwest. But Jim has a way of writing that draws it in. And Jim, for those of you that have not heard of Jim Williams, he is a very good friend to houndsmen. And he dedicated a whole book to how houndsmen have supported lions and how there would probably not be any mountain lion hunting in the West at all if it had not been for the houndsmen that rose up for the occasion to speak out for mountain lions and mountain lion management. And he's just a very good spokesperson on the other side for houndsmen, especially in the Northwest. So super good guy, had a great conversation with him. And then houndsman-wise, so I've met Scott Williams. Casey Stutzman is a houndsman from up around Marion, Montana. I went out to his house, looked at all his hounds, got pictures and all that stuff. But Casey runs the mountain lion study. He kind of coordinates that whole thing for the state of Montana. So going to have some information coming in or some episodes coming in from Casey Stutzman. But other than that, Casey's just a super good guy and very knowledgeable about lion hounds and lion hunting. So it's been a good trip.
Yeah, sounds like some good stuff's coming out of that. And I'm certainly excited to hear from these guys because I didn't know who either of them was and want to learn more about lion hunting. And I think the biology is, I love that part of it too. Probably not as much as Seth does. But
right. Who does?
I think Seth's just on another level.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt.
We can enjoy nerding out. Yeah, we can enjoy nerding out with him once in a while though.
Yeah. Yeah. But Seth would have got a big kick out of talking to Jim Williams. Probably would have turned an hour and a half conversation into a 3-hour conversation that we'd had to edit all the big words out of and all the Latin.
Yep. Well, well, yeah, like the last podcast, he used the Latin name for something after he said the normal name. And I'm like, well, what's the point? You're just whatever.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's just me. He likes that.
I've got
like you.
Yeah, I've got a zinger for him when we all get back together. You know, we've always talked about what a herd of this is called, or what multiple species, or like a herd of pigs is called, and you know we talk about that kind of stuff, And I've got a zinger for him when we get back together. So I'm not going to let it out of the bag, but I'll be surprised if he knows this one.
Good.
Yep.
I'm excited to hear about it.
So the weather out here is phenomenal. We've been looking at lows in the high 30s, low 40s, highs around 60 degrees during the day. And, of course, Western weather agrees with me very well. Low humidity. I found out that you can actually leave a package of Nutter Butters in the original container and leave them open for 2 weeks and they won't go stale.
Nice.
It is amazing.
No, low humidity is great.
Yep.
I am not so lucky with the whole low humidity. It has been raining constantly here. But you could use outside as a refrigerator at some point, either in both of our climates.
Yes.
If necessary.
Absolutely. You got to keep the beer cold somehow.
I didn't know if I could say you just could keep a case of beer under the camper or not, but that's what I would do.
Well, you're from the
I need my fridge for all the food. I like food too.
Oh, yeah, you bet. I'll tell you what. So tell me, and then of course the last Houndsman, I already mentioned Larry's name. Larry and I actually came out here and formed an LLC and have been working in the roofing industry in the Flathead Valley. But we also, the reason we did that is because we got to know each other through hunting. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So yeah. I get to hang out with a good friend and in an epic place. I can't even describe this place. If you've never made a trip to Northwest Montana, if you're a houndsman, you need to do that. I mean, just to see the vastness of the country, it's just amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, I definitely need to get out there. I mean, the furthest west I've gone, I did the whole Arizona, New Mexico thing. I've been to like California, but not like the super. Well, I was to some super fun parts, but I need to see Utah. I need to see Idaho. I need to see Montana and all that.
You've got the what's your camper? What's the name of that?
The Free Spirit Cub.
Free Spirit Cub, hooked up behind the Tacoma, and you need to see it, Lauren. You really do.
Yeah, it's just like towing that thing. So far, I don't know. Maybe I might want to upgrade soon. I'm thinking.
How long is your camper? How long is it?
That's the thing. I've never measured it, and I don't know how much it weighs, but I hitched it up to the truck anyway, and I'm like, well, it's got to weigh less than, like, what's the towing capacity of the truck? Like 45 or 4,800 pounds. I'm like, it's got to weigh less than that. I'm sure it's okay. It's got to be okay.
It's got to be.
It's got to be.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it's like 18 or 20 feet, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, there's lighter, newer models out there that I could get for like just a couple thousand more.
Oh, so you're thinking about upgrading the camper end, not the truck end.
Yeah.
I got you
Should
now.
Should I upgrade the truck to like... I don't think I want to like upgrade to the Tundra yet. I really like the Tacoma.
Yeah.
And my dogs have already messed it up, and I've already messed it up enough within a year's span that, to get it ready to trade in or sell would be more of a headache.
Well, and anybody that knows goes back to my old rule. You never buy a used truck from a bear hunter. Ever.
Yeah, but mine has only been bear hunted, like, basically, like, one season and then, like, half of another season.
Okay, so you don't buy a used truck from a bear hunter or Lauren Branny.
Yeah, that too. I mean, there were some times this year where I was like, "Ooh, that doesn't sound good," and then I like keep driving. I'm like, "Everything's fine.
Yeah,
we're going. It's okay."
Yeah. So, hey, before we get too deep into this, I really do want to dive into the UKC World Championship. Particularly, I want to talk about a good friend of mine, Danny Perez, and Buffalo Creek Papa.
I'm sorry.
What you got?
I'm sorry. Piper was just That was Piper. She's not dying, but she sounded like it. Sorry, guys.
I thought maybe that was you. But anyway, so I want to talk about my good friend Danny Perez and the 2020 Blue Tech World Champion, Buffalo Creek Pop 'em Up Woodrow. Huge congratulations going out to Danny. And Woodrow's got a pretty special place in my heart. I bought Woodrow from Danny. I can't even remember how old he was. He was under 2, and hunted him for a few months there. But I saw enough out of that dog that I bred him to my Jazz female, and Woodrow had no titles at all. I just bought him because I liked his pedigree. My ultimate plan was to breed him to something, and then breed that keep a female pup and breed that back to big country stuff. And yeah, Jazz was, she's a Grand Night, and a lot of people will be like, oh, I'm not breeding an untitled male to anything. And I made the cross with Woodrow on Jazz, and we ended up with the Wilson dog that another friend of mine, Travis Holbrook, has been campaigning. Super nice young hound. We've got a couple other pups out of that cross that are doing real well, but Woodrow is a heavy Papa Top bred male, and he was a really nice young dog, and Danny has done phenomenal with him. He bought him back from me, and it's a good thing he did, because he'd never get the recognition that he deserves if he hadn't, because of my kind of lack of interest in competition hunting in my recent times. So I'm really happy for Danny, and I'm really happy for Woodrow. And so I just want to say congratulations to those guys. Pretty awesome stuff.
Yeah, congrats, guys. I was following along on UKC's Facebook page. I was watching all the Facebook lives that they were doing of like the Tailgate interviews. I was watching the bench show. I watched not the confirmation. I don't know, they had a bunch of stuff going on, and then I'd follow along with the play-by-play as I remembered to refresh on the forum and all that.
Right.
And it was just really cool seeing all the pictures that they would post of the cast and who made it through. And I think UKC did a really great job this time around covering the World Hunt.
Yeah. Alan, our friend Alan Gingrich, has been on the podcast a couple times. They really got that dialed in now, and they do an outstanding job, even in this uncertain times and that we're living in. I know Autumn Oaks didn't go off like any of us wanted it to, but they continued to, put out a quality product and put on a good time and things like that. So good stuff.
Yeah, and when I saw that picture of Woodrow, before the final cast even went out, just as one of the pictures that was coming through of which cast winners were coming out of the rounds, I saw that picture of him, and I'm like, that's a really good looking dog. So not only is it a well performing dog, but he seems to have really good conformation as well. And I even thought in the back of my head, I don't know if any of you are following me on like Facebook or anything, I'm looking for a stud for Piper, and I'm like, oh, maybe I should breed to this dog.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, Danny's wife, Megan, she brought home the 2020 World Championship Treem Walker Female Award this year, too.
Oh, that's his wife?
That's his wife. So she is an outstanding bench show handler and trainer, and she hunts with Danny all the time. If you follow them on any social media platforms, you'll always see them together, whether it's fishing or hunting or hounds or whatever. I mean, that's a whole family package going on there. So Danny brings home the World Championship Coonhound for Blue Ticks, and she brings home the Bench Show World Championship for Treem Walkers.
There's got to be some celebrating happen there, some steaks, and yeah, that's awesome.
Yep,
that's like a dream of mine.
I'd say Danny probably ate a hot dog. I
With
don't know.
mustard or ketchup or
I
just
don't know.
ketchup? Do you know that well?
I'll ask him. So, no, they really do. They get after it. They're serious about their hounds. Danny's one of the hardest hunting guys that I know. I mean, that guy lives in the woods year round, and hard work pays off. What can you say?
Where is he located?
He's in Missouri.
Like,
Yep.
where does he live? What state? Missouri. Okay.
Yeah, Missouri.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep, in Missouri. So, and he's fun to hunt with too. I've hunted with him on a couple casts and stuff, and Danny's a serious competitor, and Megan is too when she's in the show ring. And people that are familiar with bench shows and at that level are familiar with Megan and know that she's a very good trainer as well. So, good stuff. I've probably seen her out there, but I get so scared in the ring. I start sweating and my heart's beating super fast, and it's like I forget to breathe. And then my dog feels that, and like Piper hates me, but then other times she loves me. Right.
But when other people show her on the bench, it's fine. And then when I do, she's like, no. So,
Yep.
Yeah, there's my story about that.
Well, let's hear about the Wisconsin bear hunt.
Well, it was a interesting training season, and it was a eventful but yet not eventful kill season.
Very short.
So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where to start and I can't keep track of what I've told our podcast listeners and what I've told my friends and stuff like that.
You haven't told me.
Okay. Well, training season, we kind of covered that a little bit in podcasts here and there because I was recording up when I was in my camper for 60 days. Training season went awesome. I loved it. I ate every second up till full training season because the year before I only went up like 3 or 4 times maybe between training and kill season. So Piper got out maybe 6 or 10 times last year, and this year, like 40 maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe less. I don't know, something like that. So I had Piper going, and then I was starting another pup, Cedar, who just turned a year old a little less than a month ago. And now I regret not starting her brother too, Ridge, seeing as what happened in the beginning of kill season. But Cedar turned out to be really fun to start. She was running backtracks for a while, so that wasn't fun. But that was kind of my fault too, because I just let her out of the box and let her go and not kind of point her in the right direction. But it was also neat to see her figure that out and realize that the track's getting colder and then turn around. So there were some learning moments for all of us, just like, even seasoned houndsmen learn every year. So,
right.
Yeah, I was just super thrilled with the way training season went. And the last couple weekends of training season, I moved down to a place called Elko, Wisconsin. It's just north of Anago, and I got together with a really good group of houndsmen who are just a super good group of guys, super supportive of everybody. No one's trying to beat anyone out or it's just a really good environment and all about the training and all of that. So that was really refreshing, honestly. And then the territory changing from Bayfield County down to Langlade County, and there's another county that's around there, is totally different. I'm like, wow, like I didn't know how easy I had it up north. Compared to
in what way
where I'm hunting now. So it's thicker forest, swamp all the time, everywhere.
North, up in the north end.
No, further south.
Okay.
So only 3 hours from my house it's worse than 7 hours.
Okay.
Yeah. So the swamps everywhere, lack of closer roads and trails, so the sections are a lot bigger. But positive, while there are wolves, the wolf situation isn't as bad there. So that was like just a little bit like of a weight off my shoulders.
Yeah.
So there was a quiet period this year between running hounds and for training season and then for kill season. So it was really hard to wait around during that time. And I didn't want to switch my dogs over to coon yet, because if I'm going into kill season, I don't want the last thing for them to be smelling as raccoon. I don't want to treat a coon when I'm going for bear. So I didn't coon hunt my 2 females, and I was going nuts. I was going through withdrawal. I was like, I've got an addiction. It's not drugs, it's bear hunting, and this is horrible because I'm going through withdrawal. And I am trying to figure some other stuff out to get interested and involved in, like trapping and shooting doves and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
To try and keep myself busy. So anyway,
so what was your
kill season rolls around?
Was there a quiet period because
why?
Every other year, then the tree stand bait type hunters get the
Correct.
first part of kill season. So it switches every other year, right?
You are right.
So this year was the year that the bait sitters
So
got.
this year it was just first go.
Yep.
So they had an extra super quiet period, and I was still seeing a lot of bears being taken by bait sitters, if you follow stuff on social media. But I've also now during kill season, people are getting some nice bears, and having pretty decent luck running them. And you still have to work super hard because the baits don't get hit as hard or as frequently as they do during training season.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm seeing people have still some really good success. But anyway, yeah, you're right about the switching off of the bait sitters going first or the hound runners going first.
Yeah,
so
Dennis Upson sent out a real nice picture of a bear that they took up there, and he's a friend of Larry's. So Larry Anderson got a photo of a nice bear they took there in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was super cool to see all these bears taken, but at the same time, like, I wasn't out there. I haven't yet to see any bear come down. My dogs haven't gotten on any fur at all.
Yeah.
So I'm like sitting here, like, looking at my computer, crying on the inside because I barely cry on the outside of all the fun that these people are having. And it's not necessarily like the bears that they're getting, but I'm just seeing like, videos about the hunt and, so people hanging out and stuff like that. I'm like, I am missing all of this.
So were you like on Facebook?
And the reason.
Were you on Facebook saying stuff like, oh, congratulations, and liking photos and stuff, but really not meaning it?
No, I truly mean it. And I don't know how much I've commented on. Maybe I didn't like as many as I should have because I was like on the inside, like, meh.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at right there.
Like, Scrooge.
Yeah, I'm real happy for you. Yeah, right.
Yeah, like, oh wow, that's really nice.
Yeah, yeah. That's the way I felt the last 5 weeks.
Yeah. So we're in the same boat, except mine is for different circumstances.
Yeah. So tell us why you're not hunting. I want to hear this story.
So I was super pumped for kill season, and I wasn't able to go opening day, but I told my boss, I'm like, screw it. Like, I'm taking vacation Thursday, Friday, and I'm going up north, blah, 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 bye. And I packed up my stuff after I did a bunch of work on Wednesday night and packed everything up super quick in an hour, loaded all the dogs up, Cedar's in heat, almost standing heat at this point. And I had no one around to watch her. So I had to bring her up, and there's like 30 dogs there. I'm like, oh gosh, this could end real bad.
Yeah.
So anyway, load the dogs up, and I go up to where Larry is, because Larry had invited me up to that bear camp in Price County.
Right.
So I leave at like 7 at night. I get there at 11. All the guys are snoring, passed out, because they had gotten a bear that day. So everybody celebrated as they should.
Right.
So I get there and try and sleep, and I probably slept, I don't know, maybe an hour. And I'm up at like 4:40 in the morning. I'm like, yes, let's get it. Let's do this. I'm so excited. And I cook breakfast for all the guys. They're like, well, we normally don't eat breakfast. I'm like, well, it's here. So
Yeah.
just eat something. And I normally don't eat breakfast either, but I'm like, you know what? I brought up this venison bacon from my roadkill venison last year, and I brought it was a valid roadkill. It was not rancid. Everything's okay, guys.
Yeah.
And I had my farm fresh eggs, and I just, wanted to provide something. And so we loaded up, and people started checking baits, and I rode in a truck with Larry and his friend. And I only took Piper along. I chained out Ridge and Cedar. So I only had Piper out in the truck. And I had honestly no intention of turning her loose, because I'm like, okay, we've got a tag to fill today. These guys, probably know which dogs will get the job done. And, this isn't my territory, and this isn't my place to be saying, let me turn my dog loose, all that stuff. I wanted to respect, their situation there. I just wanted to bring her along because she deserved to, rig a little bit or whatever. Okay, so we get to the bait that we're going to run off of, and we turn all the dogs out. Larry's going to hate that I'm telling this part of the story.
You need to tell this part of the story. This is epic.
Yeah. So we turn all the dogs out that we're going to start, and they had a really hard time figuring out the bait and the direction the bear went. I don't know. They were like 30, 40 yards from the bait, just like not doing anything. Bunch of dogs came back. Dogs went out to like 100 yards and came back. So like 2 or 3 at least came back. And I'm like, okay, counting in my head, okay, like how many dogs are out now? And then could we throw any more? Because you can only have 6 out.
Right.
And so dogs came back, and I'm like counting, and I'm like, okay, how many dogs do we have out now? And we confirmed that. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm throwing Piper out. And I don't necessarily like to throw her out if I don't have my own truck and like my long range antenna, and I can go where I need to if something happens and all that. But I was like, we need to get after this, and I know Piper can take this track.
Right.
Like, I was like, you can do it, girl. So I throw her out, and finally the dogs start moving, and they take it out to the left, probably, I don't know, 400 yards, not super far at all. Like, we can still hear them, and I'm looking at the GPS, and everybody's like, they're treed. And I'm looking at mine, and I'm like listening. I'm like, well, that's weird. Like, if they're all treed, Piper would be treed with them. If it's a bear, and it would be showing up as treed. I'm like, Piper's not showing up as treed. Like, she's still moving.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody starts walking in there, and sure enough, it was a slick tree. Slicker than bleep.
So were Larry's dogs on this tree?
Oh yes, both of them were.
Yeah, he probably didn't want
and
that
Piper
out.
was nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
But other people's dogs were too. Who knows what that was about? It was all dogs that weren't used to running with each other too.
Right.
So you had a dynamic going on that was just kind of a cluster.
Right.
Which can happen. Like if you're running.
Yeah, I mean, they just spent 30 hours in a truck and riding all that way, and they're wound tighter than a fiddle string, and so you gotta cut them a little bit of slack.
Yeah, for sure. So they got their dogs off the tree, and Piper's still milling around. And at that point, I thought like it was kind of like over, and I called her back, and I was like later that I shouldn't have done that. But anyway, so then Larry started walking his dogs out away from that tree, to the direction they thought it would be good to try and start a track again. And he went for a little walk in the woods, and Piper was out there too, and they finally got it moving. The track moving, at least, not necessarily the bear. The bear was not jumped till later. And then everybody got in a groove again. By everybody, I mean the dogs. So that worked out. And I had to follow my dog from the back seat of the truck because my GPS had lost connection. And so I hopped in with somebody else and got her put on their GPS to follow along. So it was kind of like nerve-wracking not to be literally in the driver's seat and not having
It's
that
pretty
GPS
nerve-wracking
right
when
there
you're
to-
in the driver's seat.
I think everybody else should be nerve-wracked if I'm in the driver's
That's
seat.
what I just said. It's more
Oh, if
nerve-wracking.
I'm- okay, yeah.
It's more nerve-wracking when you are in the driver's seat.
Yeah, and you didn't even get to be in the truck with me when we were driving around New
I already
Mexico.
knew, and that's why I was driving and
Arizona.
doing my own thing. I was like, no, not going there.
I know what I'm doing. Okay.
And it was a
You can
rent,
trust
and it
me.
was a
You-
rental.
It was a rental, and nothing happened to it.
Yeah.
And I think I'm a very good driver. My mother would disagree,
I'm an
but she
excellent
doesn't
driver.
know how you have to drive when you're hound hunting.
That's
So.
right. Well, I get accused,
Um,
Lauren. I get accused all the time when I'm out west here, but I'm going to tell you that Larry Anderson he drives exactly where he looks, and when you're on a 2-track on the side of a mountain, then yeah, it gets pretty hairy.
Yeah, he talked about that a little bit in the truck. Like we had a lot of fun bouncing
Oh, yeah.
around in that truck.
He's a blast.
Yeah, and he talked about that a little bit.
About me
and I'm
wearing my
like, yeah,
seatbelt all the time.
Uh-huh. And I was like, yeah, I think Chris is a little bit of a scaredy cat. Like I was like I would have been fine. It's fine.
I told him the other day, I was like, the reason I wear my seatbelt is so when they find this crushed truck over the side of the mountain, they're going to be able to identify the bodies quicker. They're going to be like, oh, well, Chris would have been wearing his seatbelt, so this must be him over here. And then this. Yeah.
You're assuming that you're still in one piece, though.
Well, even
Pretty
if I'm not, Larry's decapitated mangled body will be laying somewhere out there, unable to identify him, and then I'll be securely fastened in the passenger seat, and they'll be like, "Oh, the smart guy was wearing a seatbelt in the passenger seat." That's my spin on it.
I actually, when I am driving, I do wear my seatbelt a lot, unless you're just driving up the road to like check a bait or just do something super quick. But
oh yeah,
yeah, I feel naked without it.
Right.
But anyway, so the dogs are out. They're working this bear. You can tell because of how slow that they're moving that it's still a pretty cold track. And then there's this guy in that group up there. His name's Goober, and he's like in his 70s, but he is like a horse, and it has like the enthusiasm and everything to just stay, like he is running basically with the dogs.
Yep.
He is like Bear Grylls out there in the woods, staying as close to the dogs as he can. Sometimes it's 500 yards, sometimes it's 250, 100, whatever it is, but he's out there like running with these dogs. And maybe that's something you've got to do there because the wolf situation is bad and you've got to get to a tree as fast as you can and things like that. So, and he knows the territory, so he knows how to get around better than, I didn't know anything up there.
Yeah.
So the bear finally gets jumped, and it kind of did a figure 8 from where we started. I don't know how many miles total it was. I forgot to look. But there were times when that was happening that Piper would pull up treed. And I'm like, no, she's not treed. Like, something's wrong. This is weird. Like, just give it a second. And sure enough, like, she kept moving. And then probably, I don't know, 500 yards, 400 yards from the tree where that figure 8 crosses, Piper stopped moving. And that's when I got worried. And I knew something was wrong, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, I've seen this before where she just gets stuck on a track because she works. She sniffs it so hard. And I saw that, the tracks crossed right there that I'm like, okay, maybe she's just super confused and she just can't figure it out. And that's just Piper being Piper. So the dog's tree, a little bit after that, and we're rushing to get in there, going down the roads that we need to and figuring that out. And when we're getting out of the truck and trying to figure out which way we're going to go in and if anyone's taking an ATV, if we're just walking, whatever it is, Goober gets on his handheld and I hear it on the radio. He's like, who's that other lady that's out here? Who that lady, her dog's here. And I'm like, get on the radio. I'm like, yeah, that's me. It's Lauren. And he's like, yeah, your dog got it in the butt. She's, lifting it up. She can't walk on it. And before that, he had got on the radio and said that Fly, Larry's dog, had gotten it and ripped on the head. The bear had bit her on the head and split her wide open there.
Right.
So
yeah, those pictures were pretty brutal. Scarface Fly now. That's her nickname.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got to get a picture now that it's healed up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I took some pretty gruesome pictures, but she healed up fine from what I hear.
Yep, she did. I just looked at her this evening. She can't even hardly tell she was hit.
Yeah. So based on what Goober was saying, though, and the fact that Piper made it to the tree, and I knew it's not life-threatening. He didn't say it with, like, hey, you got to get over here now, or this is bad, or anything like that. Like, everybody was super calm and cool about it, and I think that's what helped me be like, it's going to be fine. It's fine. Like, there's nothing to worry about. And, Piper made it to the tree and she was still hammering. It's fine. So everybody got to the tree. Oh gosh, there were probably at least 15 of us that went in there to look at the bear, and we analyzed it, and our shooter decided to pass on it. And I think it was a good choice to pass on that bear. And some people say, like, should have had that bear shot and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, like, it's that guy's decision on what he wants to do with the tag. Let's say it was training season, or, we didn't have a shooter that day. We would have still turned loose on that bear, and whatever happened. Right. It's just what happens when you bear hunt, and it is what it is. So I was happy he passed on that bear. And it was nice to see us just take a look at that bear, kind of tap on the tree, get it to move up and down so we got a better look at it. And we got to watch it come down and run away and then walk back to the truck. And yeah. So we doctored the dogs.
Yeah.
We doctored the dogs, and by the end of it, we decided Piper's wound was a little too substantial to do an at-home repair job. So I was like, well, if I stayed here, I really can't keep the wound clean. It's just a better thing for me to go home and deal with it at home and get to my vet or what have you.
I heard you were freaking out.
That was my choice. How was I freaking out?
Piper's been bear bit. Oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I got to get her to an emergency vet. Is that how it went?
No. I was like, well, should I take her to emergency? I didn't actually end up taking her to the emergency vet.
You took a chicken to the vet.
Yeah, but it wasn't an emergency. So I ended up I cleaned it out with help from a friend that's a vet tech. She gave me some syringes and chlorhexidine,
Yeah.
and I cleaned it out and had a vet appointment the next day. And they did a little surgery on her, put 3 drains in and like 7 or 8 stitches. The muscle was torn underneath in one spot and 3 big pockets. So it's something that I shouldn't have handled
Sure.
on my own.
Yeah, good choice.
So yeah. So yeah, I got there at like 11 p.m. and I left the next day by like 11 a.m. So it was a short visit.
Yeah, 12 hours in bear camp compared to
Right.
60 days.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
The-
a lot of people would sit back and armchair quarterback it and say, 8 stitches? Are you kidding me? I had a doctor that dog. But, what if you had not taken the precautions and then you've got permanent damage in your dog? Where are you going to be for the next several years, So it's your decision.
Sure.
And, yeah, I was just giving you a hard time there, Lauren, about, it's kind of cool. These dogs are very important to us, and we want to give them the best care we can. And you made a judgment call that it was beyond your capabilities, which is pretty.
And Larry's.
Yeah.
He made the call too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Larry stapled them up from end to end. So.
Yep. So, I mean, and it only cost me like $400 something versus if I went to an emergency vet, it would have been way more than
it'd
that.
Been $1,200.
Yeah. So she just got her stitches out today. She's doing really well. She was on Clavamox for an antibiotic, which is the best that you can get a dog, especially when you've got a bear bite. And I do recommend you guys check out chlorhexidine solution to clean things out rather than like betadine or hydrogen peroxide. It's a really good antiseptic. It doesn't sting, it doesn't foam, it doesn't get messy. It's just super easy.
You know what I keep in my kit for cleaning out wounds like that? Saline solution for contact lenses. Because either you've got
that too.
Yeah, you've either got it in a squeeze bottle, so you can really put some pressure on it and clean that out. So it's a saline scrub, and then get them wrapped up and stapled up or stitched up or something like that. But yeah, I've found that saline solution works really well too.
Yeah, I looked up. I've gotten it just for free from my vet. They give me the concentrate and then I dilute it as needed. But you can get huge jugs of it on Amazon for like $11. The chlorhexidine, kidding. And yeah, and you can just buy big syringes like the wider diameter ones,
right?
Without the needle,
and
that's how you can flush stuff out. And highly 10 out of 10 would recommend.
Nice. That's a good little piece of information right there, because I was kind of looking for. I mean, saline solution is relatively cheap as well, and but yeah.
But it doesn't have the antiseptic, antimicrobial, antifungal,
all
those.
Yep.
Properties, yeah.
Yeah, I just learned something.
So,
cool.
Yeah, so I had to drive home the 3 hours realizing I've got a dog in heat that's going to be in heat for 2 more weeks. And then I got a dog that's ripped up, and I don't know how long that recovery is going to take. It could be 2 weeks, it could be longer, depending on how things go. And yeah, so it was rough on the heart.
Yeah.
And now I'm ready to go again. We've got 2 more weekends left. The guy I normally run with, though, he's got some heart issues he's figuring out. So trying to figure out if I can actually get out this weekend.
Well, I hope you can.
Yeah, it's not like I've got a lot of people have, 6-10 dogs. I've got 2 bear dogs. I can't necessarily go out alone and do it by myself with these 2 fools.
Well, Piper and Cedar have treated bears by themselves before, correct?
Piper has treed bear on her own solo for this year, actually. Cedar hasn't treed one on her own, but she's treed one with like Piper and one other dog. I mean, I don't doubt they could do it, but it's really nice to have someone just in case you need to go block a road because you don't know if the dogs are going to go that direction. So I just like that, being able to have someone else out there with you.
Yeah, it's a little bit different out in Idaho just because it's not roaded as well. So a lot of times it'll just be Larry and I in one vehicle and we just hunt. You just go and hunt. Mm-hmm. It's kind of nice. You don't have the big crowds. But there are advantages to having those big crowds out there to lend a helping hand and the radio communication and blocking roads and things like you said. But they're really in a traffic. Really in a traffic issue out here. Either though. So
yeah, it's different.
Yeah,
for sure. I like hunting with very small groups of people. It just sometimes makes things way easier, less complicated. But then that there's other people in the groups around you that can come to your assistance if needed.
Right.
So that's what I like. We don't always have to go out with, 8 guys, 8 different trucks. It could be just 2 or 3 or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's different when you go to different parts of the country. When I hunt in the eastern mountains, then there's generally more people involved and radios and things like that. Mm-hmm. The cool thing about hunting in the East is you get people that have been bear hunters or just want to be a part of the hunt. They don't have a dog in the hunt, but they'll be out there. They've invested in a radio. They've invested in GPS, and they know what their job is and they're there to assist. They don't want to sit at home. They want to be involved. And everybody plays a part, Everybody plays a part
exactly.
in a well-organized team.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, we've got some of those in the group in Elko. And it's great to have them around. And if you're too busy handling dogs or trying to figure out what's going on, they can be the ones taking pictures or, doing this or that. Or maybe you've got too many dogs to handle out of the woods. They can help you with that.
Or maybe you need to ride back to your truck.
Or that, yeah.
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 Just all kinds of good stuff. That's a cool
I know
thing.
Larry's had a little bit of a rude awakening when he got out to Wisconsin and saw how we hunt out here versus, his one-man show out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eventually, I want to get to the point where I can be a one-man show, but I think I need to add a couple more dogs first.
Maybe.
Yeah. So I'm definitely going to start Ridge on bear next year. I regret not doing it, but hindsight's 20/20.
I would say he'll come into it just fine.
Oh, I think so too. I mean, Piper started. I first started Piper on coon, and she did really good on coon, and then I started her on bear, and she's doing great on bear. So we'll just cross our fingers and put in the time. That's all you got to do is put in the time.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
I was reading Gary Robertson's book, his new book, Eyes Front, and he talked about one of the lines that stuck. There's a few lines that stuck out to me, but one of them is, "He who hunts the most hunts the best."
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the lines that stuck out to me. You take somebody like Calvin Redhouse down there. Calvin's got good dogs because he hunts all the time.
Mm-hmm. That's, Yep. It's a true statement. And I would have never gotten to where I did by the end of the training season and if I didn't put in the time.
Right.
And there's a lot of people that do that and it works out and there's a reason it works out. And then there's, people who don't and their dogs aren't as good and there's a reason.
Yep. No, there's no doubt about that. Did I tell you that Kung Fu got killed by a bear down on the res?
Yes, you did tell me that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a month or two ago, you told me that.
Oh, okay. I couldn't remember if I told you or not. But that's a perfect example of a dog that you could have lost patience with her. She was kind of quirky. She was kind of shy around strangers and strange dogs. So I left her down there with Calvin because she was going to hunt with the same dogs and the same people all the time. And Calvin turned her into a bear dog down there, and she got on the wrong bear and was running out in front of everything else and ended up getting taken out by a bear. So it was kind of a sad deal, but these dogs live for that kind of stuff and
right. It's the heart of a hound, and you can't fault a dog, for going out doing what they love.
Right. So,
and yeah, I think my mom hoped though, like she was over visiting on Sunday or something like that, and she was like, "So, are you gonna keep bear hunting?" And I'm like the next 2 weekends, and she's like, "No, like forever." I'm like, "Yeah." And she looked at me like, even though like the bear like bit your baby, she like hurt your baby, and I'm like, "Yeah, I mean Piper's my girl, but like this like," and I go, "Mom, she made it to the tree. Like this dog was fine. Like it was gonna happen. It's not gonna stop me from bear hunting. Like if I'm the type of person that my dog getting bit is gonna stop me from hunting, like go ahead and shoot me now." Because I'm worthless at that point then.
Right.
So I don't think she liked my answer. And but this is what I love to do, and this is what my dogs love to do. I'm not forcing them to do it. If they want to go and run that track and bay that bear up, they're going to do it. I'm not doing any, Yeah. So I'm going to
You're all in.
Bear hunting. Yeah. Linda Branny, you're going to have to just get used to it.
So tell me about the wolf situation in Wisconsin. How do you guys mitigate risks for wolves and things like that while you're bear hunting?
Sure. Well, I actually mentioned on the last podcast with Seth that a wolf was just hit down the road from me.
Yep.
And that's not cool. But they're around. We knew that they were around. The DNR will deny it in this area. We've got the proof now, and they know they're just going to deny it, but whatever. But as far as like mitigating,
have you got your tinfoil hat on? Have you got your tinfoil hat on, conspiracy theorist?
Heavy duty tinfoil Reynolds wrap. Yeah, not just the stuff you buy at Aldi.
Right.
The real deal.
Yeah, you gotta get this from GFS. Commercial grade.
Yeah, there you go. So, as far as mitigating, you have to hunt the territory a lot and get to know the patterns. Have trail cams out, look for tracks, look for signs of wolves, listen at night, stuff like that. If you know the area really well, wolves are super sneaky, but you're going to have a better idea and talk to everybody around. Mm-hmm. What are you seeing? What are you experiencing? If we share that information, we're all going to be better off, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So even if, I've got a picture of a wolf on our bait, across the highway, I'm going to share that with the people on the other side of the highway, because wolves, they travel.
Sure they do. Yep.
So, as far as like mitigating, it's knowing your hunting area, knowing the patterns, talking to people. I run bells on my dogs. Get to the tree as fast as possible. That's one thing we mentioned in the last podcast. And I just get to know your community, I guess. At this point, there's really nothing legally you can do.
Right.
So, yeah. But just Yeah, and the wolf kills that we are confirmed by the DNR, 4 hounds does get reported, and our Bear Hunters Association, Wisconsin Bear Hunters Association, sends out an email blast to everybody, and it shows where the kill was, a 6-mile radius around it, provides, the details of wolves killed a trailing hound,
Yeah.
this date, blah, blah, blah. So at least but for every dog that is killed by a wolf, could be, and I know for a fact there are dogs that were never recovered that you can't even prove was a wolf kill, even though 2 other dogs in the pack were killed by wolves and proven. So,
right.
Yeah.
Something came to mind, and I don't know if I'll play the devil's advocate a little bit, but Mike Colley, I don't know if did you see Diablo while you were there?
I did.
Yeah. He came from Mike Colley, and Mike lost a dog to an alligator last month, I think, or 2 months ago. I don't know. It's been recently. And, when I look at that, they don't stop hunting because there's alligators. They know they're there, and they just keep rolling. So I think wolves can be a deal. I am not a wolf fan. I'll just get that out there right now. But and you've heard me talk about my feelings about wolves, the forced reintroduction, and I mean, I can go on a rant about wolves, but at some point you just got to look at it and think there's a hazard everywhere you go. If you hunt in my country, then
Mm-hmm.
you can get hit by a car. The dog can be hit by a car. It can fall in a cistern. So I don't know what the answer is, but wolves are a pretty easy target for a lot of houndsmen right now, and rightfully so. I'm not saying that they're not justified on that stuff. It's just Ross Feenstra mentioned if he worried about wolves every time he turned loose, he'd never turn loose. So I was just curious how you mitigate the risks up there in Wisconsin.
Yeah, and I've talked about it on this podcast before. Years before, 1 year ago, even 2 years ago, I had absolute petrifying fear of wolves. And I barely turned Piper out last year because of it. And then the year before that, nobody got turned out because I was a scaredy cat. And I came to the realization that I'm not going to be able to do what I like, and my dogs aren't going to be able to do what they love, and I'm not going to have any fun really if I live in fear of this. And
it's kind of like riding with Larry Anderson through the mountains.
It is what it is, and
you just got to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you just got to do it and just be confident in your dogs and be confident in the country. And these woods are our woods too. I mean, yeah, there's crappy stuff out there, but these woods are our woods, and we're going to run these dogs, and that's what it's going to be. So I don't know. You got to be prepared for the worst, hope for the best, and be out there just to have fun, not to be scared.
Right. Yep. Good. That's good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what else we want to talk about in this rambling bear hunting overall podcast?
Well, we've got coon season coming up here shortly in Wisconsin.
Yes.
Yours probably starts a month after ours.
We start November 8th.
Oh, okay. So we're mid-October here.
Okay.
So it's I think it's the weekend after bear hunting ends.
Wow.
So I'm pretty excited. About that. And now that I realize, okay, Piper's putting all her weight on her back leg that got bit, I was to the point where I had to bring Maggie out of retirement to get Ridge started on coon. And now that Piper gets bit by the bear, my mom doesn't want to give Maggie to me because she thinks Maggie's going to get hurt, and I'm not going to take care of her right or whatever. And I'm like, come on, woman. Like,
come on, Linda.
I'm taking care of 3 dogs here. Yeah. Come on, Linda. So, I don't think I have to take Maggie out of retirement. I think Piper will do. But I'm pretty excited, honestly, for coon season. And Andrea, who we've had on the podcast before, her pup just turns 6 months old like a couple days ago, and I've been getting these texts from her at like 11 p.m. And sometimes I'll wake up like randomly. I'm usually asleep by then, okay, everybody? I'm old.
Whatever.
So, yeah. So I'll get these texts from her and I'll like read them, and she's been out with her pup and she sends me like a novel about everything that happened, but it's
Sure.
like all exciting stuff. And
Mhm.
the other night she barked on track and followed a track for like a super long time. And what was it? Did the dog tree and she couldn't find it? Or the dog just did end up treeing, but it was like a super good track.
Yeah.
Either way, it's exciting stuff for a 6-month-old and her first dog that she's starting, and the dog doesn't have a pup trainer with it. So we've got to get together and get both of our young pups out with Piper and get after it.
Yeah.
Get some fur down.
So you're going to hunt one at a time, or you're going to hunt them both together?
The young pups?
Yeah.
We haven't discussed that, but I'd throw them out. I'd throw both of them out together.
Really?
If we're together, yeah. I mean,
I would
You- so you think-
alternate them.
Piper and one pup, and then Piper and the other pup.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I really do. I never had. I prefer to start pups and hunt them alone exclusively, and just be patient and let them figure it out. But that's not always possible. I don't always stick to that rule. Sometimes I get frustrated and want to see a coon in a tree, so I'll take an older dog and drop him out with the pup. But rarely do I hunt more than one pup together. It just seems like you multiply your problems and your potential for problems when you hunt multiple pups together.
And one could learn bad,
Yeah, I mean, you get one
stuff
dog
from another
Yeah,
one. Okay.
you get one dog running. Pups are energetic. It's like having kids around, and I got kicked out of a parenting class a long time ago. I'll go into that story sometime about.
Oh, we've heard it.
Yeah.
I think we've heard it.
Yeah, comparing raising kids and dog training. But anyway, they're already predisposed to run junk. They're already predisposed to tree possums. They're just learning. So I just like hunting one at a time.
Yeah. I guess I've never had to train more than one. But I guess I have two now. I really should start Cedar on coon too.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sure.
But she's really good at opening on track. Ridge hasn't opened on track yet, really. So it's just going to be an interesting year. And speaking of possum, I'm trying to trap a raccoon, okay, right now, guys? I've got my live trap out. I do it every day. All I've caught is an opossum.
An opossum.
Well, that's, yeah.
The
they're not
opossum.
Possums. Possums are like Possums are like in Australia. I mean, we call them possums here because it's just more fun to say. And not as difficult.
Exactly. So what are you baiting your trap? What are you baiting your trap with?
Well, that trap was baited with some leftovers of like apple, walnut, sweetbread, some plums, and some pork chop.
Yeah. And
I mean, I could have attracted a raccoon.
And you caught the North American marsupial,
really like it.
The Virginia opossum.
Yep. The old Smiley.
Yep.
And I let him go. He was sleeping in the little cage, and I tipped him out and let him go, and he wasn't sure what was going on. But I don't mind having opossums around. I've never treed one in all my years of coon hunting.
Yeah.
But they're good for the farm. They eat ticks, they eat bugs, and they don't really harm anything. So I'm cool with them being around.
Yep.
Woodchucks, on the other hand, no.
So
having a woodchuck problem.
Bait your trap with marshmallows and peanut butter. See if you can catch it.
I know. Well, I knew about the marshmallows, but you're saying should I make like a marshmallow peanut butter sandwich?
Yeah, that'll work. I usually just take
okay.
I usually just take marshmallows, like the big ones that you use on a campfire, and just dip them in the, just scoop some peanut butter on each marshmallow. Put a couple out towards the end and get those raccoons where they're like, yeah, I like marshmallow peanut butter. And it seems like every time
they'll just keep coming back for more.
Yep. And once you trap a possum and you turn them loose, it's like they're not as dumb as what people think, because it's like, oh, that's a free meal, and I'm going to get turned loose when she gets here tomorrow. So I always try to relocate possums away from where I trapped them.
Okay.
Because I've actually looked them over, and they've got a split ear on the right side or whatever, and the next day you go out there and it's the same possum in the trap again. So a long time.
Yeah, I should have spray painted it.
I've marked them like that too. I wasn't gonna. Yeah, you can spray paint a possum and keep track of how many times you catch them. But if you haul them away, then there's plenty more that are going to take their spot to eat ticks and such.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, in that moment, I was like, "Go free, buddy. Go ahead, walk away," and he didn't.
Yeah. Do you know what is unique besides being the North American marsupial about a possum? How much do you know about possum anatomy?
I don't know enough, but their hands are freaking creepy to look at.
Yeah, they're weird, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're pretty amazing animals. For one thing, they can actually use their tail to grip limbs and different things like that.
Are you going to talk about Lyme disease?
No, I wasn't going to say anything.
Oh, okay.
But that's another thing. Lyme disease and rabies, they don't transmit either one. They're like natural dead ends.
Yeah, what's your fun fact? So the tail, being able to use that.
The most interesting fact about a possum is that they've got a bifurcated penis.
It's like double-headed?
Yep.
Is that what it... Okay.
Yep.
Do they have bifurcated vaginas too?
No. Not on the same. Not on the same. Not on the same possum.
That'd be weird.
Yes.
That'd be real weird.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like a raccoon.
No.
But does it have a bone like a raccoon?
Every species has a baculum. It's called a baculum. See, I'm nerding out.
Okay.
In Seth's absence, I'm going to nerd out a little bit. So, yeah, every mammal has a baculum except for primates, and so they do have
what about dolphins?
baculum. I don't know about a dolphin.
Okay.
I don't know about a dolphin.
I really don't want to Google it, though. I'm not going to Google it because you just don't know what's going to come up.
I'm going to Google it right now.
Go ahead.
Yep.
See, the only thing I know about bifurcated is a bifurcated cost basis mutual fund account. And that means, I'll nerd out for you guys on finance. That means the cost basis is split into two different sections, covered and non-covered, and they're calculated differently because of this rule that was created January 1st, 2012. I'll bore you guys with that. Never again. I'll stop right now. Maybe Chris is done Googling.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to. You don't want to Google. Do dolphins have a penis or a baculum?
Well,
I'm
that's
sorry.
Not what you're. Okay.
Yeah, a baculum.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say that's not what you're supposed to Google.
Yeah.
But now everybody's gonna go Google it. I don't know if this is a family-friendly show anymore, Chris.
Well, we're not. According to our competitors, we're not free either. So.
Yeah. There you go. It's biology. Like everybody learns this stuff in school. Right. So. Yeah, and it's nature. The funny thing is, we've got females that come into heat and all that stuff.
Hey.
And my mom gets so gross. My mom.
Okay. So here's I've got a Google fact for you. I was incorrect. Okay. The only mammal species without baculum are humans, horses, donkeys, rhinoceros, marsupials, which is a possum, rabbits, and I need to send this word to cetaceans, the marine family that includes whales and dolphins, elephants and hyenas. So there you go.
Interesting. So like God kind of just went like you, not you, you, not you.
Exactly.
That's basically how it went. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it's all for a purpose, I'm sure. So.
Yes, I'm sure it is. So let's talk about hounds. Back to hounds, since this is a Houndsman XP podcast. So you're trying to figure out what you're going to breed Piper to, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, so I'm struggling with that, and at the same time, I'm also struggling with like, when do I breed her? Because it's kind of tricky for me.
What's tricky about it?
Okay, so she comes into heat like late October and then again in the spring.
Okay.
And if I breed her this heat cycle that's coming up, then I'm going to be stuck at home all winter, not able to go anywhere. Like, who's going to watch these puppies that are born in like the end of December? And then I'm, stuck all winter with these dogs. And I guess any time of the year I am, but like, I'm not sure if I'm prepared for that. And then she won't really be out much of coon season because it ends mid-February. So if she has these pups like December, January, she can still get in quite a bit of coon hunting.
Yeah.
So that's not really an issue. And then she can get into bear hunting because those pups will be gone by then. So that's fine. Next winter, I really wanted to take her out and do a New Mexico bear hunt with her.
Okay.
So I would have to do it like right in the beginning of their bear season. And Stuart Berry, who is a friend of the podcast, and we're friends, and his wife and I are friends, said that like late October, beginning of November is the best. And I'm thinking, well, that's when she's going to be in heat.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But at the same time, if I want to breed her next winter, maybe there's somebody out west that I would breed her to, and then it would be easier because I'd be out there anyway. I don't know. Your thoughts, Chris?
Well, I like having pups in the fall. I know you miss out on some hunting time with. In your situation, you brought up an interesting point. Who's going to take care of puppies in January when you want to be on the reservation or in New Mexico or, out chasing lions. But the advantages to having pups that time of year is you've got all winter, you've got all spring for them to mature, you've got summer to work with them, and then usually by the next season they're about the right age to really, to start them and get them rolling. The other part, the other thing, so that's my preference. But if you wait until spring, you're going to be looking at pups that are going to be a year and a half old before they really get any exposure to a lot of game and that sort of stuff.
And then I'll have to deal with puppies during bear season, and who wants to deal with that?
Exactly.
Like watching puppies.
Exactly.
So it's like a lose-lose, kind of, but better to have them in the winter.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of.
Yep.
That's when Piper was born. She was born, she was born the first week in November, something like that. And I brought her home the day after Christmas.
Yep. It just seems to me like, puppies help speed up that lag time between the hunting seasons more. Because you've got something to and you've done it. You had Piper or Cedar and Ridge all summer and messing with them, and it just seems like it makes the downtime go by faster. And then before you know it, it
definitely did.
It's time to go hunting. Let's go hunting. So there you go.
Yeah. It's if it's this year, it's going to happen so fast, and I don't know if I'm ready for that. And oh gosh, the heat I'm going to get from Linda. Oh boy.
Yep.
Mother. She doesn't listen to this, so it's okay. But my grandparents do once in a while. Hey, Bruce and Rita. Hey, Grandma and Grandpa.
Yeah. Awesome. What else you got? What else you got?
Yeah, I've got a conundrum. Um, Not really a whole lot. My dogs are pretty comfortable being outside and they're doing really well, living outside in their kennels. Um, so that's good. I mean, they'd be out there for a bunch of hours during the day, but I'm trying to get them kind of winterized or acclimated to it getting colder,
Mm-hmm.
just because when Piper comes into heat, it's just going to be easier to have the rest of them out there, especially Ridge, the male,
Right.
because oh my gosh. So he went crazy, like crazy, crazy for a while, and I've never experienced that in my life. Um, and he was supposed to actually get snipped on Tuesday. We're recording this it's Wednesday today. So he was supposed to get snipped yesterday, and I couldn't go through with it, Chris. I felt horrible, and I'm like, he's so young, and what if he turns out? And, by that time I'll have another dog that's not related to them in my kennel and I'll want to breed him and blah, blah, blah. And so I didn't do it. And I don't
Yeah.
know if it was a good decision or a bad decision, but it's the decision I made.
Yep. Well, you know what? You're the one that has to make the decision. I think,
Yeah.
it's just one of those deals that I think we all debate that. I've got a male plot right now that probably should go ahead and be neutered. I don't have any plans of hunting him. I go back to what Shorty Gorham said because I believe it. The horse industry figured it out a long time ago. There aren't very many stallions or stud horses out there because they're hard to deal with. So there's a lot of geldings out there that perform very well, and only the most phenomenal specimens remain stallions. And
Sure.
that's something that even I struggle with. And I know a lot of houndsmen do about, do I neuter this dog or don't I neuter this dog? But I think if sometimes I think maybe we ought to have somebody else that we can trust and say, hey, would you breed to this dog? And or would you neuter him? And say, well, there's these things that I don't like about your dog. Or if somebody can be honest with you enough to tell you that, I think sometimes that can help. I really do.
Sure. And I was like, okay, you can get a stud dog from anywhere. There's, there's more unneutered males than there are neutered males out there. So,
Right.
That's a thing. But in the back of my head, I'm thinking, this is kind of the last of these dogs' lines, where they come from. Max Gibson, he's not going to be around a whole much longer. And right now, I really like what these dogs are doing.
You know what I do?
And
I think I would take Ridge at the age he's at right now and talk to Max, take Max hunting with him, and just ask for Max's opinion. It's his line of dogs. Would you breed this dog back into your line, or do you want this dog representing your life's work?
That's a good idea.
Yep.
That's a good idea.
Let him make the decision. If he says, Lauren, I really like your dog, but, or he says, I really like this dog.
That dog ain't worth.
No, he may say, I really like this dog. Please don't neuter him. I would like to breed a female back to him. Or, you just never know. But Max is the one that's put his heart and soul and his life into breeding that line of dogs, and give him the say.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great advice. It's great advice. I got to get the dog going first before I start bringing him down there. Step one.
Yeah. Well, get some miles on him. Get some miles and some hunts on him this fall through the coon season, and before the weather gets too bad, invite Max down for a hunt. See what he says.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to go to him.
There you go.
So, but that's not an issue. He's not super far away.
Right.
Yeah, good advice. But other than that, I mean, I don't have a whole lot.
Well, you know what?
Think.
I've got a ton of stuff, but it's also getting late, and if I get started on some of the things that I want to talk about, we'll be here for another hour. So let's save it for another podcast.
Sounds good. Well, it's been good talking to you. I hope our guests are happy to hear the familiar voice of Mr. Chris Powell here, and enjoyed our little catch-up chat, or catch-up with Chris.
You guys have done an outstanding job, and I want to give you and Seth a shout out for keeping the wheels on the bus and keeping them turning while I had to take a brief hiatus. Starting a business is a lot of work, a lot of time, and it's kind of a roller coaster ride. And I'm not sure where it's going to end up yet, but I really appreciate the team that you guys are just a great team to have, and I really appreciate it.
It's great working with both of you, and I think we can all agree it's fun to work together, and it's also good to have your trust to keep the bus wheels turning. Sometimes we go right and left, but we keep it on the road, I hope.
Yeah, you keep it between the ditches most of the time.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to get a little bear hunting driving in there, and woo, but
that's right.
We got it done.
Why don't you close out the podcast, Lauren?
All right, Chris. Well, we've got coon season coming up, and I got some pups to start, and my friends have some pups, and heck, maybe you've got a dog you're going to get out in the woods if you ever get out of Montana, or even in Montana.
In Montana.
But yeah, you follow your hounds, and I'll follow mine.